A dramatic finish for 15-year-old Russian skater Kamila Valieva. Find out the latest on her figure skating final and the doping crisis that has put her in the spotlight.
The city of Los Angeles is no stranger to the Summer Olympics. We'll take it live to the Coliseum and find out more plans for the 2028 Games. With only 3 days left for the 2022 Olympics in Beijing, we are devoting tonight's See It Live to the Olympic Games, past, present, and future. Good evening. I'm Allie Anthony.
And I'm Vincent Demonte. The day ended with a disappointing finish for 15-year-old Russian skater Kamila Valieva, as well as U.S. athletes. The U.S. women's ice hockey team took home silver today after losing to Team Canada 3-2. The decision to let Valieva compete after testing positive for a banned substance has led some to say that she received a pass because of her race. Some people are comparing Valieva's case to U.S. runner Sha'Carri Richardson. Richardson qualified for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, but was then suspended from Team USA after testing positive for marijuana. For people who study race and sports, the difference in how the two athletes were treated comes down to skin color.
We were presented with the black woman, right, that broke the law, and then you have this darling white girl, right, crying, submissive, docile, a victim of the system, the victim of coaches and parents. So we have two different narratives that's going on.
For her part, Richardson says she also believes that she was treated more harshly due to her skin color, and she said she should have been allowed to compete in the Tokyo Games.
The Olympics are the only forum where the entire world gets to compete on a multi-sport basis. But do the medals and events still live up to the excitement and appeal for viewers? Reporter Chloe Clark shows why fewer people are tuning in.
There's more to the games than just the medals.
It's about the only thing left in some respects is your medal counts. There's a level of nationalism to the Olympics, but you don't really have to follow the Olympics to follow the medal count.
Looking at the current all-time medal count, the United States leads with 2,980 medals, followed by the United Kingdom with 948 and Germany with 892. As exciting as this may be, Durbin says these counts can't be all that attracts viewers.
You have something where you're really trying to get people excited once every 4 years. It's really, really difficult to do that if people don't know your athletes and don't have any kind of personal investment in the sports. So you have to have somebody generate interest in the athletes and the athlete's story in order to generate interest in the Olympics themselves.
It's already becoming less common for people to sit down in front of the TV to watch the Olympics. Just 16 million people tuned in for opening ceremony, which was 43% below the 2018 Games. We spoke to USC students to get their thoughts.
I've watched it a little when I'm studying, but during the day, definitely not.
I have never been watching the Winter Olympics. Usually I just watch it every 4 years, but I don't know, just these Olympics aren't very popular. It's not really appealing to me so much.
Indiana University's sports media professor says streaming contributes to the decline of viewership.
I think people will become more and more acclimatized to watch what they want on demand or live. But we're in this transition phase right now, I think, where a lot of the consumers that generally make up the bulk of Olympics watching audiences just haven't fully made that transition yet. So even if they do know how to use the streaming services, they're probably not using it to its fullest extent.
Beyond the historic nostalgia of the events and medals, it's more so the connection to athletes and the sense of nationalism that can truly bring back the heart of the games. And
skiers aren't the only thing going downhill in Beijing. Viewership for the Games has plummeted this year. As Chloe mentioned, the Winter Olympics opening ceremony viewership was at an all-time low, averaging just 16 million viewers. This is 43% below the 2018 Games in South Korea. There are many theories for why Olympics ratings continue to fall. A decline in TV watching, the time difference with Beijing, lack of fans, and a second Olympics just 6 months after the Summer Games.
China's promise to host the greenest games ever by remaining carbon neutral may not be the most accurate, especially when it comes to producing artificial snow. A professor of hydrology at the University of Strasbourg in France shares how the games are impacting the environment.
The calculations of how much water has to be pumped so far uphill, you actually reach a figure of several millions of tons of CO2. And obviously, if the Nature article is saying that there are CO2 emissions related to the pumping of the water, that means they're not using green energy for that. The green energy is only being used for the venues, for the snowmaking and all of that. And of course, they also have hydrogen-based buses and electric cars and so on. But let's say that's just the tip of the iceberg.
De Jong hopes that for future Olympic Games, governments will take more accountability when it comes to their environmental impact.
Feelings might be mixed about the 2028 Olympics, but 90 years ago, excitement for the Games here in Los Angeles was at a fever pitch. In 1932, LA hosted its first Olympic Games in the midst of the Great Depression. No other city bid on the event, and only 37 countries attended across 14 sports. The U.S. won first that year with 103 medals. The event's success defined the Olympic Games and instilled Olympic pride in the city of LA. The Games returned to Los Angeles in 1984. LA used venues like the Memorial Coliseum and the Rose Bowl to keep costs low. This led to the most profitable Games in history, earning the city $223 million. In 2028, LA will also use current venues throughout the city. For many SC students, the Coliseum is a place for Trojan football, but the iconic stadium has a unique cultural legacy. We talked to a preservation architect about the Coliseum's history.
The 1922 stadium was very modest. You wouldn't see much except for that peristyle with the marble with the arches on the faces Figueroa at that time. It was built onto with the big concrete structure, most of what you see today, in preparation for the 1932 Olympics. I think it's a real testament to heritage and architecture and civic pride. You know, it has an arcade on the front that speaks to, this is a landmark. This is an important place.
Annenberg Media's Olivia Tyler is at the Coliseum right now with more on how the stadium and USC will play a role in the 2028 Olympics.
I am here at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum just 24 hours after the Rams Super Bowl parade. They're still outside cleaning up confetti. The Trojans, the Rams, NASCAR, concerts, and so many other exciting events have happened right here throughout history. But the Coliseum is not the only USC facility being used for the Games. The Galen Center, the Village, Dedeaux Field, and our very own Annenberg Media Center will host athletes and journalists. I was lucky enough to hear from the chairman of the 2028 Olympics himself about what USC means to the Games.
Our success in Los Angeles is not a bunch of basketball arenas or football stadiums or baseball stadiums. It's USC and UCLA singularly. It's what makes LA unique. It's what makes UCLA and USC special. And so between those two universities, the infrastructure that it takes to support what I just described is what allows us to host these games. The Media Village and the Press Center and a bunch of competition venues at USC, most cities don't have that stuff.
The Coliseum lost opening ceremonies to SoFi, but the majority of the athletics and the main part of the closing ceremony will happen right here behind me. That's it for tonight out here. Back to you in the studio.
The Trojans are no strangers to the medal stand. Four-time Olympic gold medalist and USC alum Janet Evans told us about her career and her upcoming role in the 2028 Games.
You know, you kind of go from this young, hungry athlete wanting to win, and you always want to win and you're always hungry, but as I grew older and I gained wisdom, I realized that, the sun was going to come out the next day if I didn't win a gold medal. There are many of us, we are proud Trojans. And I think the underlying theme for all of us that competed in the games while we were Trojans is that the support of the whole university and the student population really helped us in our journeys.
If USC were a country entering its athletes in the Olympic Games, its 305 all-time Summer Olympic medals would place it 13th among all participating countries. 15 USC athletes went home with gold medals in beach volleyball, track, and water polo in the 2020 Summer Olympics.
Some Olympians choose to use their celebrity and become activists for issues that are important to them. This is true for USC's 139th commencement speaker, Olympian and USC alumna, Allison Felix. Allison has won 11 medals, making her the most decorated U.S. track athlete in Olympic history. But her achievements don't end there. USC President Carol Folt has commended Felix for using the medal stand to push for women's rights. Felix graduated from USC's Rossier School of Education in 2008. Her keynote speech will be delivered this May, and she will also receive an honorary degree. Not everyone is excited for the Olympics to come to Los Angeles. One group is trying to stop the event from happening because of the city's existing issues. The No Olympics LA Coalition says the Games would take away resources that should be allocated to at-risk communities in LA. But a finance professor at the University of Notre Dame says it's an uphill battle for the group to cancel the 2028 Games at this point.
The hassles that you would need to generate to get people to reconsider probably is going to be, it would be expensive to do, and you would need some major backers, I think, in order to, financial backers that is.
The No Olympics LA focuses on the following issues: the housing crisis and gentrification, police presence in at-risk communities, and oversight and accountability for elected officials.
Olympians may be seen smiling on our TV screens, but more than 30% of athletes experience a variety of mental health issues, sometimes even affecting their performances in the Olympic Games. Last year, famous Olympian and gymnast Simone Biles withdrew from the Tokyo 2020 gymnastics finals, citing mental health concerns. This inspired other athletes to share their own struggles. I spoke with the senior USC swimmer about his own Olympic experiences.
It takes a lot of courage to go against your ego and all the training that you've done, and step aside and prioritize your health and your mental well-being. IOC and other organizations could provide more resources outside of the actual Olympics, the Olympic Village, and within the Olympics have some people to talk to. Or maybe they do, but I've never seen a single poster or a single sign anywhere.
Well, Allie, I don't know about you, but making sure that there are some mental health resources for our Olympic athletes is definitely really important.
Oh yeah, it's totally important. We got to take care of our athletes' physical and mental health, especially this stage and age.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to everyone remaining for the Winter Olympics so far this year. And thank you for watching See It Live. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Vincent Demonte.
And I'm Allie Anthony. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Good night.